I will try to be as clear as possible and especially focus on interesting subjects, and I will be more than happy to try and tackle technical and non-technical details on the presentation. The piece of work which I'm about to explain is related to a European project which just came to an end, and that is the reason why I couldn't attend this conference. It's called Youth for All, which is the biggest of the institution area, and it can be applied to universities who really mean to be accessible. And it has, in the project, there's very interesting partners, or at least that is what we who've been working the project believe. It was meant for 4 years, but in the end we end up working 5 years. I'm briefly going to comment something which may sound obvious to you, and it is the fact that there's legislations and initiative both in Spain and in the world to guarantee accessibilities, and very many studies which show that accessibility is not provided. This is the case in academia, in a time where the introduction of technology is essential to maintain an approach which is called the European Space for Upper Studies, focus on the student. We all think that this is a great opportunity to focus on the students' needs, and it is the right moment to introduce the treatment of diversity. In the article, in one of the articles in the conference, we explain this, so I'm not going to further develop. However, there's experiences in the field where I come from, which is applied intelligence applied to education system that can adapt interaction with the individuals. There's another theme which is standards and accessibility for all, or universal design, and that in our group we thought that a combination of two is the right way to go. It's very difficult to design for all, and it's also very difficult to adapt to everyone's needs. Well, the project includes 14 partners. At the end of the projects, they said that in order to show that the projects could be applied in universities as big as the UNED or the Open University in the UK, we could introduce other universities with new NMSs and learning systems. We started with very well-known learning projects like Google and .learn, and we introduced another one, Akai, and a different implementation of Moodle. And in the Valencia Polytechnic University and in Polytechnical School in Leiria, Portugal. And it's been shown that the technology is feasible. The project was followed with great interest by all. The idea was developing a really accessible university. The first year we worked on the largest study so far on the students' needs, students with special needs, and in proposing an architecture called today cloud computing, so that each component, Moodle, Sakai, or any other LMS, can interoperate with this architecture, which means that all components work on web services, they're interoperable, and they have all the definition of interfaces accessible. About the system, it can work with different actors. I'll be commenting on the services that we have developed and the ones that we have considered in order to demonstrate the feasibility of this approach. We have professors, tutors, students, support staff. We have here personnel from the UNIDIS unit from our university, which helps out people with disabilities. It also includes the participation of what we call specialized personnel, technicians in manufacturing learning objects which are accessible. In our university, we have an agreement with the ONCE Foundation, who provide this kind of objects necessary to our students. And of course, we have considered interactions under every single condition. And for this, we have used the latest available standard on user modeling, the ISO 2471, which mainly works to establish the needs of interaction of a person vis-à-vis any devices in any context and in all kinds of disabilities. This is therefore a very ambitious project, and the initial results show that this is feasible, and that to make this really feasible, we need the involvement of an institution who wants to have some of the services which I'm about to mention, and it's impossible to do that without the involvement by an institution. The catalogue of services which I'm about to present to you include assessments of the students' needs, tools to support the authorship, a service which is basically a kind of audit of a course. Let's imagine that we have a course on the internet and I push a button, and who is choosing this course have a given profile expressed in a standard that I always use when working with the system, and the system responds if the objects of the course are really thought out for me. And this is done automatically. We have also considered that nowadays many of the initiatives to make objects accessible require manual interactions and different kinds of people, anything from professionals outside the university and within the university, and for this we have developed the ResAdapt service. We have also considered the fact that the student, the professor, or anyone working with the system, but especially the student, can give feedback, comments, and assess what he's receiving, because very often we think that what we're doing is okay, but it's not really true, or not sufficiently so. And lastly, we have a general service for assessing accessibility. The participants in the process, you all know, the students, professors, the production or transformation of materials, technicians. We have units in our university dedicated to that. The use of PCs. There's people who specialize in recording tutorials, like the ones that I'm having with you these days, and turn them into learning objects so that the students have this available on the web in Teka Group. And there's many technicians who can be involved in any university. And an essential aspects that university libraries have adopted lately, as you know, is everything having to do with the management of these objects, the handling, how to label the objects properly, all the documentation in the university, and this is something which have taken on board. On the other hand, we have technicians specialized in diversity, and they are wonderful. Let me add this in passing. We have detected that in the assessments of the projects, and they need to be present in different stages of the process. And then finally, we have people in charge of the university who would like to know, for example, how many of the courses which are now being offered really cover the students' needs. The variety of relations among all these different partners and the needs detected are enormous. Let me just summarize a few for you. First service is the assessment of the student's needs. We give the student an interface where he can state his needs, and underneath, without his knowing, we have the standard that I have just explained. The issues that we have identified is that many students are not even aware of the fact of the possibilities that they have available, even of the technology. The assessment of UNIDIS in a university is a key element, and the assessment corresponding in the Open University as well. One of the lessons learned in the project is that the people working in these units are necessary, and that a student faced with an interface, no matter how well adapted, cannot transmit everything behind. In this project, we are thinking about interactive guidelines, but because of the needs, this recommended system has not evolved. But the lesson learned is that it is absolutely necessary.